With that, welcome to Startup Face Off. We get this is a discussion, open-ended forum. The entrepreneurs have brought their own questions, so we're going to do one question at a time. But first, I'd like to introduce our guests, and we'll start with you, Alex. Alex Morsing from Equivesto. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing good, Craig. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here as always. Yeah, I'm the managing director and co-founder of Equivesto. Equivesto is a new equity crowdfunding platform operating in Canada. We help startups and small businesses raise up to 1.5 million from their own communities and the general public, and people can invest through us in startups for as little as $100.
And I don't know. I was gonna say in my bottom left-hand corner, but I think Zoom randomly puts people where they are. Naima from Social Sherpa. How you doing?
Good, good. So my name is Naima, as you guys all know here, and I'm the founder of Social Sherpa, the little logo right there. That's the mountain. So, digital Sherpa for small businesses. So we do a lot of the small business marketing. We help them get customers online, leveraging advertising on social and search engine. So Google advertising. So those are the two main things that we help small businesses with. And I'm also a digital marketing specialist. I specialize in advertising. And again, I teach digital marketing also at Trios College.
Yeah, I forgot about the trust thing. Yeah, but you mentioned that before. I keep forgetting. But you mentor here, and you do so much things, and you also have things going on Sunday. Are you still doing the Sunday mentoring?
Yeah, so I am doing Sunday digital marketing clinics to help. It's like a free digital marketing strategy session for small businesses. And then on Saturdays, I do that with fitness trainers at PlaceMate with Celia.
And if you can find the links and put them in the chat room for people if they wanted to do that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And welcome, Celia Lopez. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks so much. So I'm Celia Lopez.
Perfect.
And I'm an ex-athlete turned personal trainer and now the founder of PlaceMate. PlaceMate is Canada's first health and fitness inspired co-working space, specifically catered to health and fitness professionals. So we provide them not only with the gym space to train and treat their clients, but also a workspace for them to work on their business. And we also further support them by providing them with business tools and training to help them grow their business. So
it sounds exciting. And when did you open?
2 months ago.
Wow. I can't imagine opening a place like that just during this time.
It's been a journey, been pretty exciting, obviously some highs and lows, but we're here and we're making it happen.
But I think your whole industry is struggling a little bit. So I'm hopefully they're pulling together around at least your roof.
Yeah. I think now what a lot of people are understanding is that gyms fall into two different categories. You have the big box gyms, but then you have the smaller boutique gyms. And so we need to do better as an industry to classify, break that down and understand what is the difference between all these gyms. We're not all just one gym or fitness studio. Like our concept is very unique and different.
It sounds very unique and different. So let's get into it. Everyone's here. They want to hear our discussion. And I'm going to throw the first question over to you, Alex, since we started with you.
Okay.
What's your question of the day?
So my question is, I think it's pretty interesting, but maybe that's just me. Do technical founders deserve the same split as non-technical founders?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Celia, are you a technical founder or a non-technical founder? And do you have a technical co-founder if you're not that person?
Oh my God. So it's a funny story. I think I have my strong suits as a founder, but my technical kind of co-founder is Naima. So she's actually my marketing partner and she takes care of like all the advertising, marketing, and that's her strong suit. So I think it only makes sense to bring somebody in who has that technical component and understand what kind of skills and expertise that they bring and actually give them a little bit of a cut of the company, because without them you can't bring it to or grow it as big as you'd like it to grow. So that for me, I mean, it's working out perfectly now. So
I didn't realize that you were both, one of you was the technical and one of them was the non-technical. I just realized whoops, like my bad.
This is great.
I just went like super personal, like let's air your dirty laundry on this call.
That was on the down low, Alex. Great job there.
Sorry.
Good.
And from I don't know how, Naima, were you involved from the beginning, or has this been something that you were brought on later?
So I met, Celia has been going at it for a while now, right? So I met actually Celia while she was pitching for funds at Ignite Capital. But at the time she had a marketing partner. So I said to myself, you know what, she doesn't need my help. I'm just gonna be her friend or and just kind of talk to her. And then we were in the same peer circle where, so I also on Saturdays, I ran, basically I mentored at a youth program where I help like, young entrepreneurs with their business plan and so on. And so I met her again there. And then just 6 months before the launch, I talked to Celia, and Celia was like, you know what, my marketing partner didn't work out. And it's been I've been pushing, and it would be amazing if you can get involved. And, and we got involved together, created a 6-month plan, boom, bam. At the end of that 6 month, the gym, there you go.
Nice.
So that's coming in a little later,
Yeah.
and it's a limited technical factor. But your question, I think, is more along the lines of,
Do they deserve?
yeah, do they deserve it? And exactly, what role does a technical co-founder play? I guess, if you start off with the same idea at the same time, and you're both, and you're two co-founders, a non-technical co-founder and a co-founder, and you're slugging it out 50-50, then you guys have to have that discussion. And that makes sense. But if you come on a little later, or you're not doing the full technical role, you're only doing this piece. However, some might say that, a marketing, a CMO or whatever is worth this versus worth that. I think it's a very much healthy discussion. Now, how did you decide that with Equivesto? Your technical co-founder, how did that all work out?
Yeah, so my technical co-founder, Ryan, so we started the business together. We actually have been friends for a very long time. You're roommates at university. And so we sort of always knew that we would start a business together. And we actually were looking for a business to start before we sort of came upon the idea for Equivesto. We were trying a few different things, kind of seeing where there was a need in the market way back in 2016, actually. And at that point, we always sort of had the split of our areas of expertise. So we both have a background in business, but I have a much stronger background in finance, and his is more on the tech, like IT side. So it just sort of worked out that we had that sort of combined skill set that created a fintech, obviously. But I know, for us, it was easy just to sort of do a 50-50 in that way. I know for a lot of other companies that we talk to who are interested in potentially working with us, that, we have a lot of people who have the idea themselves, but they don't have the technical skills to develop it. And then they come and say, hey, like, I want to raise capital on your platform to hire a developer to build my MVP, to build my demo of my whatever my idea is. And you're way too early to be raising capital at that stage. You're pure ideation. That's going to be the most expensive capital you'll ever raise. It's much more worthwhile finding someone who will become your co-founder and actually get involved and connected in the vision to build that. And then some part of the struggle is, they feel like the idea is worth like 90% of it, and they don't want to give a lot of equity to someone who's starting the business. But at the same time, many people have really great ideas, but without the right individuals to help bring that to fruition, you're never going to get anywhere. And so I often have that sort of hard discussion where it's like, look, you need to bring on someone technical who's going to do this, and you'll have to pay them in equity. But are they going to do more? Like, if you look at the total list of tasks, are you splitting them 50-50? And it just so happens that maybe, 70% of their half of the tasks is the technical related tasks, and the other 30% is some other things? Or is it all they're going to do building this piece of technology and then sort of maintaining it maybe, but not helping on any other areas of the business? And so it's definitely a challenge. But if you're making a technology product, you need a technical person to help you make it at a founder level unless you're just really rich, and then you'll just spend your own capital to hire people, which is fantastic. Then do that, keep all the equity for yourself. But
Uh-oh. Zoom is not our friend this evening, isn't he? Is
I
it?
like this I like this though.
I
It's
like
a perfect
the
moment.
majority of us don't have that capital available.
Oh,
Did I freeze?
yeah, you froze.
Well, I finished my statement anyways. So
The my advice for people is to pay somebody. All right. If you're early on and you have an idea and you're just doing a mock up or you're just doing a prototype, you're just doing, find somebody and pay them to do it. You, because here's the thing. You're going to pivot, you're going to change, you don't know what stack you eventually want, you don't know all these things. And if you're not a technical person and you find someone and they're technical in this one area, and then you move 6 months down the road and find out, well, guess what? You need to hire 3 people technically in this other area because that's not where your co-founder's technical in. Where are you? And so, and I get a lot of people the same thing. I need a technical co-founders. Okay. Or even that the ever unicorn search for co-founder, and apparently there's co-founder coffee and a few other places to go look. But usually everyone at those things has their own idea. And they're looking for someone to join them. Like that's the whole, I want someone to be my co-founder. Great. I want someone to be my co-founder. It's like, yay. But yeah, this is my idea has to do with birds and your idea has to do with motor cars. I don't know if we work together. So
they should watch Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and go in that direction.
Yeah. So, but that's the problem. Now, inevitably people can't pay. But you can do prototypes cheap. You can hire people that are students fresh out of Brain Station or something that's their first project that'll probably do things inexpensively, or any of the graduating classes. You can do digital mock-ups for nothing, not next to nothing. You can do some amazing things in PowerPoint that will just go from that act like an application. So there's a lot of things you can do to get your idea across.
So you want to trick your investors into thinking you have something and then you don't. And then
Well,
you're like, by the way, thanks for investing, but actually I'm going to spend all your money building it instead of marketing it.
Well, here's the thing. Depending on what you're doing, I firmly believe you should have customers before you write a single line of code. So
Fair.
I'm in a different kind of position where I'm saying, all right, if I got to prototype something to somebody to get an investment, that's because I'm already doing something on the back end and I'm, but yeah, you need to do what you have to do. And sometimes you need, to get the idea across, to pitch something and get it in front of a few people. And if you're looking for funding, you got to talk to 100 investors before you have a chance. You know how tough it is. So but giving over, it's the most expensive when you're talking about co-founders and you're talking about 50-50 split or 30, like it all gets diluted in the end, but it's the most expensive part of your company you're going to get. So you really need to think twice about it. Are you going to get, if you just find someone on the street, are you going to get the top skill you want? When I say find someone in the street, I mean, you're at a coffee. I like, oh, you're a coder. How do you know that the person you're talking to across the table is any good? Just because they're smarter than you. You're the non-technical person. They better be smarter than you.
Right.
I think that, the 50, I don't think like in every case 50-50% that it needs to be 50-50%, but I think where it's worth doing some the 50-50%, usually earlier you mentioned the timeline where if you come in early it makes sense. Like with Celia, for example, this is really interesting because I think early on she had someone where they started together, so then it was a 50-50, but then she was putting in like 100% of the work and the other one was like no, right? But then they started off with 50-50. Whereas in my case, like the way I kind of justified even working, because I usually don't take any partners. And I think this is something that I talked to you about, Craig, because I usually don't take partners. I always prefer the cash for, obvious reasons. But I think in her case, I saw the potential. And then on top of that, I think a good partner, whether it's technical or not, is someone that's going to bring in revenue, right? And all of the leads that probably 90% of our leads and even during COVID, we're able to generate leads, and each, basically get people in the door, and we have like $1,000 per head, right? So that is coming in with 90% of it is coming from, you know, my work here. So I feel that's how I kind of justified it at first. Like she was also like, do I want to do this? But I found that as we worked together, and then I was like, okay, you know what? It's making sense because I can see that we can make money. So I think with even technical founders, or even the founder themselves, the original founder, sometimes if it makes sense that, you know, both people are benefiting, and, you know, then, you know, obviously you can do the whatever split works for you. I don't know if it's 50-50 every time though. Yeah, Sylvia, what do you think?
We also took an interesting approach as well, because we actually tested our partnership before we actually came to an agreement about
That's so smart. That's so smart.
We were working together for 6 months prior to even the partnership conversation even coming to the table.
Yeah.
Because we had to make sure that both her and I can work together, because bringing somebody on as a partner, you got to make sure you get along with them, and they you know, satisfy your weaknesses, and you can also bounce your strong suits on them. So we tested it for 6 months, and then we found that it actually made sense and it was working out for both of us. So then that's when we came to the table with a partnership that made sense for the both of us, not just one way. And yeah, so I thought that was really smart. I mean, we didn't even plan it that way. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And that is the smart way to go. Doing what I do in the community, get a lot of people who want to work with me, and they want me to be part of their team, or, you know, more. And I, for the most part, resist it and say, listen, you know, keep coming to the community, keep working with me, whatever. And, you know, if we, after 6 months or so, we have this relationship and we think there's something here, then yeah, we can talk about it. But until then, you know, it's just a waste, because it takes so long to figure out whether this is a good working relationship or not.
Yeah, especially with you, Craig, because you get so many messages, even from me, right? It's like initially when I started, I think I bombarded with messages like, hey, Craig, you need to work with me. You need to work with me. But then I think as you realize that I wasn't going away, and then you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to give in, because I think that's you know, you have to feel out that energy. Like, is this person for real, right? So I think that, you know, I basically broke you in.
Well, it's also, it's the people who turn up and give value, right? If you turn up and give value and continue to do so, you'll get invited back and you'll be taken seriously. That's kind of how in my mindset, our community works. So that was a great question, Alex. I really appreciate it. So over to you, Celia. What's your question?
Ooh, so we're going to take a little bit of a shift. So my question is, as an entrepreneur, how does health and wellness play into your life? Is it important to you? Have you put it on the back end? Does it affect you?
Well, it should be more important to me. It affects me, and I do put it on the back burner.
Are you wearing your 1 beer a day shirt, Craig?
No, I am not. And is that, what shirt, what is it you're talking about? I have a shirt that says, shut up, Livy, you're fine. And I have a shirt that says, I wonder if beer is thinking about me too.
I think it was the second one.
Yeah. But, yeah, I had a pinched nerve and then the flu and a couple other things that, you know, because I haven't been taking care of myself. And as entrepreneurs, and as a funny saying goes, and I like to say, is only an entrepreneur will work 80 hours to avoid working 40. And so if you're working at that kind of your own business, you know, your stress level, even it's good, your stress level is going to be high. Even your good stress level, bad stress level, it's going to go up and down. So when you really need to think about your health and wellness, you need to think about your mental health. You need to exercise every day. You need to actually think healthy and not, you know, just grab that slice of pizza because it happens to be at the meetup, because it's there. Because you know later you're not going to sleep well. Tomorrow you're not going to have the energy to do what you want. You're not going to be thinking straight because you haven't had the nutrition. But we don't think about those things. You know, just getting healthier from, you know, a few weeks of not being feeling good. I resonate with it, but our default is convenience.
Totally. I agree. And I think, you know, we can all relate that a lot of the whole startup ethos is that you sacrifice everything for your business, and you have the ramen diet, and so you're living in your parents' basements and you're just eating like 69-cent Mr. Noodles so that you can put all of your time and your effort and everything towards your business. And you're very right, Craig, and it's a great question. The key is that you need that balance, and you are not a machine, or conversely, you are a machine and you are what you eat. And so if you just put terrible fuel into your machine is not going to work at its most optimal setting. So making sure that you do that, and the physical health for sure, but also the mental health is so important. We're always working so hard, especially with COVID and everything, the stress, like starting the business, trying to make it successful. You have all this pressure, like, I must make this work, there's no other choice. And then when's the last time you took a break, or like went for a walk, or like did something that helped you feel more relaxed and connected more with yourself internally? So it's a great question. It's definitely something that should be important, and we as entrepreneurs often just sort of move it out of the way in favor of the business.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I asked that question is because as I was starting the bit, like, so obviously I'm a trainer first, and so health and wellness and fitness is my background. But as I was starting the business, I was pouring all of my energy into the business and forgetting about myself. So I didn't eat well. I felt like crap, and then I just couldn't perform as optimally as I would like to. And then it wasn't until COVID happened, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done feeling like shit, and like, I want to feel better. And it has actually shifted me in a way where my mental health is in a better place. And because of that, I feel like I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to execute more. Like it feels good. And I feel good, more energy. And so it's kind of crazy that I've been kind of experienced both sides. And the thing that you hear a lot is, as entrepreneurs, we should be investing a lot of our time and energy, pushing. But we are like, our ideas is what drives the business, and our energy is what drives the business. So we can't forget to just an hour, 30 minutes a day, take care of yourself. Do whatever you got to do. Like, I don't know, meditate, just go for a walk. Like even some light blood flow movements will just make that big of a difference in shifting you from your stress levels and feeling anxious and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the reason why I asked that, because I think we need to change that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you took the opposite route that I did. When COVID hit, I had less exercise. I ride my bike everywhere, so I'd ride my bike to the train and take the train in Toronto 3-4 days of the week and lug all this crap everywhere, and that was a lot of exercise that I'm not getting now because I'm not having to lug all the stuff I need to run a meeting and do projections and run an event everywhere several times a week, and I haven't replaced that with anything. So, how about you, Naima? Have you continued your exercise routines, or do you have any?
Yeah, I actually, Celia knows, I work out 3 times a week at 7 a.m. in the morning, and then I go for runs on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm pretty crazy. Yeah, it's important because, basically all the anger, I just, put it on the weight and drop the weights, and I'm like,
just throwing them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I get my stress out. So that's my health and wellness.
So, do you have any tips for people now during COVID who work at home, entertainment at home, the movies at home, dating online is through the screen now and whatnot. How do we,
You're
be
using that
healthy?
selfie from 9 months ago.
Yeah.
What I've been recommending is just book at least 30 minutes to an hour in your calendar. Just book it in there, keep it there, whatever works for your day, and like really take that, like when it says it's time for you to work out or take a break, do something active, like really take that seriously. Because once you start to, it's just a habit, right? We've all just gotten into the slump of not doing anything because our habits have changed. So now we just have to re-ingrain that good habit of being active again, doing something every day back into our daily routine. So that's what I've done. And there's so many options now on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, free workouts. Literally, if you want to like work on your abs for 30 minutes, like just go on YouTube or Instagram like 30-minute ab workout, and you'll get like a bunch of different things.
Craig, are you gonna be ripped on your? Are you gonna get those abs?
I'm waiting for that Snapchat filter.
Okay.
I was going to say, everyone technically has abs, right? Everyone's got a six pack. We've just stored them in different locations. You just got to find them.
All right.
Mine has disappeared since COVID. Yeah, it's interesting. Because of the, everyone was concerned about the mental health aspect as well of COVID. I sort of leaned into that and made that sort of my focus. And then as a result of being at home and the gym closed, and I didn't make it a priority to go out and, buy the bands or like do whatever initially. So the working out portion kind of like slipped, but I actually have better, I would say, mental health now, almost sort of in the reverse, just because I don't have to commute and I don't have all these other things going on. I was making a priority to have, the right amount of sleep and take good time to sort of reflect and, have some internal dialogue and all that sort of stuff. But I did kind of skip on the workout stuff. So all my, my squat and my bench is all like out the window. But finally, like 3 weeks ago, I ordered some of those elastic band things. So now I need to take them out of the box.
That's step 2.
So Naima, I think that the next question is over to you. What are you going to surprise us with?
All right. So my question is actually, how important is speed to your organization? Speed to your organization. So how important is it for you to prioritize speed, like versus, any other item on your, so, as a startup, especially, I think speed is something that often gets overlooked. So I'd love to hear what you have to say, Alex, actually, first, and then let's go with the circle, I guess.
Yeah. So I just want to clarify speed in terms of like an internal speed, like a
yeah, and also just like go to market or even internally, like when you decide to launch something, like how important is that to you versus like what is it like to personally? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think speed is definitely important. If you're an entrepreneur thinking about a market opportunity that you want to take advantage of, first mover advantage is real, and you can definitely capture a lot more market share if you do it properly and you have the right marketing assistance. So reach out to Social Sherpa to really get in and sort of take control of that. I think internally, it's important to have good and strong communication between team members in a rapid way. So I think leveraging new technology like Microsoft Teams or Slack to have that communication is important. I think for us, in terms of the way Equivesto worked, interestingly, it was sort of the opposite. We took a long time to go to market, not through any sort of desire of our own, but we actually had to get licensed in order to operate our business. And so that is just a very long process. And so you have to make sure that you do it properly and you take the time to work with the Ontario Securities Commission or whoever to get that process completed. And then once that was finished, then we wanted to move relatively quickly. But everyone, I feel like in some situations, people do want to move fast to take that market position. And you can sometimes overlook things. You don't want to like rush, if that makes sense. You want to be fast, but you still want to be thorough.
What do you think, Craig? Because I know that, I think that one thing I learned from you, mentoring, I think I took a couple of strategy sessions with you as well, was that, hey, at least put out something, especially if you're trying to test a big idea. So I'd love to hear speed, like, and what that means to you. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was on a different screen. For me, speed means iteration. It means how quickly are we learning and are testing our hypothesis. It doesn't necessarily meaning how quickly are we building the final product. So it depends on where the startup is. It depends on like people. A lot of times I'll be mentoring with people and I'll be saying, okay, you got to do this, 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 and this. And they say, oh, that's a lot to do. All right, I'll get back to you in a couple of months. And I'm like, a couple of months? This should be a couple of days. What are you doing? Yeah, call 3 people, get people on the phone, do this, do that. This is not that hard. Let's go. But as soon as you hear that, oh, a couple of months, that's, it's a sign for me. Okay, well, I guess I may see you, but probably not. Because, if you think this is work, we haven't really even started.
Yeah.
So it's just speed is and it's not, the road runner, and it's not being the fastest. It's actually moving the needle forward bit by bit at a time. A lot of startups, what happens is they build false hypothesis in their mind, a lot of false assumptions, and then they test some things, that minor things, and then they run with stuff, never really understanding whether their target market wants this, whether that is their target market, whether they're actually solving a problem for them, or what they're selling. And this is where they all run into problems. So if you test all those things and iterate constantly, talking to people, talking to customers, and changing your value prop and your positioning and your marketing and your offering, and to get it right, that's what matters. If you're taking way too long to do those things, then eventually you will fail.
What about you, Celia? What are you thinking?
So speed is really interesting, and I agree with Craig. It's more interesting to us because I've been working on this concept for the last 3 years. So it took me 3 years to get to this point, and I knew initially when I came up with the idea that speed to market was everything. But as much as I wanted to go there quickly, it just didn't happen. I actually had to move the needle as, like you said, as little as I could to get to where we are today. So the first year was literally idea and validation and just talking to our target market, understanding them. And the second year was just trying to build a community without having physical space, because we couldn't find the space that fit within our budget. So it was a year of literally shopping around, trying to find something that worked for us. And then now here we are, the third year, where we actually launch, and COVID happens. And so we have to pivot, obviously be as creative as we can, and still try to make it work. But if we didn't build the community before that, we wouldn't have had the momentum we have now. So technically, like, everything made sense in its timeline. Even though it took 3 years and it wasn't the speed that we wanted or I wanted, it still, everything had its process, and it made total sense as to why it worked out the way that it did.
Well, and I think, that's the have so many customers before you write a single line of code thing. A lot of people will build a business, buy everything. Your fitness co-working space, you've got all sorts of expensive gym equipment, you've got all this space in the downtown core, it's expensive. You could have went and put millions of dollars in this, opened it up, and waited, and then, I need to build a community, and wait 3 years to build it. The problem is working, which is really backwards. Right now you're spending all this money to find out what your community wants, when you did that the right way, and by testing all those little ideas and working and finding and all those things, your community is already there, because you found your early adopters, you found it, now you found the people motivating all of that. So moving and doing that iterative stuff is so important. And we've got a question from Carl in the chat room, which is relevant here, which is, he's curious about timelines the new entrepreneurs expect from go to market to generating monthly recurring revenue, 1 year, 18 months, 2 years, or more. And the answer is, there's no one answer for that. You're talking about a fitness co-working space. You're talking about, building this idea from scratch, getting the funding, getting, the real estate deal, getting the equipment deals, getting any partnership deals to get all this together. That's years. So now you launch, and you have your first customer right away, monthly recurring revenue, if that's what you want. You're not necessarily making profit, but that's day one. So is that 3 years?
Yeah.
Or is
Can I
it?
say something here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I think for the monthly recurring revenue, based on how I operate, it's what has been the case for most situations is I give them the 90 days, the 3 months. So basically plan it out and then execute in that 3-month term. And then by the end of that 3-month term, after executing that plan, if there is, no monthly recurring revenue, then, so basically we use that term that's like the ideal number of term if you're going all in that 3 months. Like, but like the speed factor and the stamina factor has to really come in that 3 months, you know, so the founder has to be fully committed. So I agree with you when it comes to the who knows, like, you know, it really depends. But in most of the people that I work with, so like, you know, for real estate, I had like a guy named Michael Roy. So I told him in 3 months, if you follow this plan and if it doesn't work, then you can quit, because he was gonna quit in 1 month. And I said, hey, just 3 months, try this plan. If it works, then you stick around. And he did. And right now he works with Centurion, and he's on Instagram actually, and he's just so he has another listing, and you know, so on and so forth. But basically, and then and in the other side is, you know, companies that are like, okay, we're gonna run ads, like we don't know if it's gonna work. I just tell them, hey, stick it out for 3 months at least, right? Before you completely, because sometimes what happens with companies is they'll say, okay, let me try for 10 days or 1 week or 3 days, and you know, that's never, you know, the right attitude especially approaching advertising. And so I usually, the timeline I give is 3 months. And so if you're fully committed and you're following the actual plan, and you know, same idea with any other timeline, but I think 3 months is like a perfect timing to validate whether or not you are going to be, because you should be able to get, you know, I haven't had a single customer that were not able to get, you know, get that customer if they were like fully committed and they were in and working that plan.
So you're saying from launch, you should be,
Yeah.
you know,
3
3
months.
months and working with you. Because, you know, I look at Alex. Alex, how long have you been working on Equivesto?
3.5 years.
Yeah. And, you know,
We launched last month.
Do we have monthly recurring revenue yet?
Well, there's an application fee for companies, but it's rather low. So we don't really count that. So for us, campaigns can run up to 90 days. And then there's about a month for closing. So we are only going to get our first revenue 1 month after the closing of the first campaign. So whenever that is, it could be 4 months. So technically, Naima, you're still close. It's around 3 months from launch to potentially getting the revenue.
Again, you know, I think I'm referring more to like the startups and small business that I work with. And like, there has been, like, I work with one company that was launching like a completely new line of disinfection products. So it was like smart UVC. And that was, again, same timeline, 3 months. And we have 3 accounts, and, you know, they got the partnership with U of Ottawa, and, you know, it just 3 months, you know, that was the term. And if they weren't going to get anything, then it's because, you know, if the plan, you know, if you didn't follow the plan, and if you didn't, so basically we just follow the plan. Once you get I guess it depends on each, in your case, obviously with Equivesto, I really believe that has more to do with like the way their business model works, and their business itself is so unique because, you know, like they are doing something new, like, you know, very new. And it's, I think there's no template for that. Let's just say that. But
yeah, and like for them, you have to build the platform, you have to get it security approved, audited, you have to go all through this regulation. You can't just go like no matter what you do, it takes a period of time.
Yeah.
But I know other businesses who have monthly recurring revenue before their actual businesses because they do certain things. So that's what I mean. That depends on the business. But yeah, I think from launch, I agree with you that if you're not getting revenue quickly, and again, depends on your sales cycle. And there's some things like I can't remember, we were talking to somebody who was trying to sell software into universities and schools. And that's like an 18-month lead.
Yeah, that's a massive sales cycle. Yeah.
Sales cycle. So, you know, depends, right? So there's no one size fit answer. And it goes to, you know, that's the question around speed, where I was trying to just bring that in because I felt a lot of people have, and I get this question a lot, you know, with some of our team is, well, how long should it take you to launch? Well, it depends. What are you doing? Like, but everyone thinks that if you're not here at day 31, then you're a loser. Well, okay. It depends. Yes, Celia, go ahead.
Okay, I just had a thought. I think it's like when we have an idea, we expect it to launch it in the way that we, you know, really, you know, it's like it's a 10 out of 10 mentality. Like, this is the final product that I really want to present. But I think what people fail to, like, as entrepreneurs, what is your minimal viable product? Like, what can you do to generate like even $1 in 30 days to make sure that your idea is actually viable instead of wasting all that time to bring, like the recurring, that big kind of, idea or that you want to generate, like, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars. Think about how you're going to make $1 based off of your idea and then work your way up to the $10,000.
I miss ideas like that. I wish I had started a business like that. Yeah. No, but I entirely agree. Like for entrepreneurs, you want to move really relatively quickly to test as soon as you can your concept and your idea. That's one of the most important things you want to do, because that'll just save you more time, because you'll learn as soon as you go to market with whatever it is. Okay, my customers like this, or they don't like this, or this is what I need to change. And just responding back to the speed thing, I thought of something else that I wanted to add. Specifically with actually running a campaign, for example, or actually going out to raise funds, you want to move quickly to complete and sort of build all the processes and the items that you need. You want to do that in a quick and sort of reactive way. So you want to be working on it quickly and making those updates. But in terms of whether you should, go out and talk to a VC immediately with your pitch, or whether you should actually try to get on a platform as quickly as you can and launch your campaign as quickly as possible, it's sort of the opposite is the recommended. So yeah, you want to work fast and iterate to actually prepare yourself to go out and raise capital, but you don't necessarily want to launch your campaign until you've really done all the different things to get that all ready and sort of perfected.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So I'm gonna throw out a phrase that I personally hate: the new normal. And we all work with different startups here from different points of view, but we work with many different entrepreneurs and many different startups. But and I'm always talking, well, we're opening up tomorrow, or no, the province is closing down, or so. What is the new normal for entrepreneurs, if there is one? And what is it? And I'll throw it out to anybody to jump in on that.
I think it just means staying on your toes. Staying on your toes, whatever, like the amount of pivots we've had to make recently is insane. But you know what? It just makes us think about the business from a different lens, from a different angle, and things that we didn't consider before are actually options that we can provide now. For example, we want to do film and production and photography from the studio. So we think of it that way. So if anybody is in the health and fitness, they want to shoot for television, they want to shoot for live stream classes. Like, that's something we didn't really think about until COVID happened. And so we had to shift and pivot. So we really have to be on our toes. And that to me,
don't you have Crystal there? She's doing the live streaming today.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have one of the trainers doing the live stream.
And you wouldn't think about that off the top of your head, but then you look at your co-working space for trainers. It sounds like, why wouldn't you have a great video streaming for exactly this? Because people buying their own and having their own studios and all that kind of stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't necessarily think about that until something like this happens.
Yeah.
I think you're right on, Celia. With entrepreneurs, and sort of what we're all trying to do is essentially approach an existing problem from a new viewpoint, right? To start a new business that hasn't been around before and tackle the problem in a different way. And if you have that mindset and you're ready to have those pivots, then technically this is still normal to you. You're still, even though the whole world is changing and all these other things are changing, you're approaching it from a perspective where you're trying to find ways to pivot, trying to find new ways to have opportunity. Anything happens that many people might say, oh, this is terrible, this is a negative for me. You're always trying to find that way to turn it into a positive. And that's not to say it's not negative in many other ways. I'm not trying to sort of downplay the horrible impacts of COVID, but more it's about trying to find those ways where you can turn it into a positive for you and your business.
Yeah, I totally agree with Alex, especially since I think, since you are especially when you're the founder, and I think all of us here are founders, where you're the founder, you control how everyone is also reacting to the situation. So especially if you're the founder, I think you need to pull yourself together and do need to be like, okay, this is just and this is just a test, another test. You just have to adapt. This is like a test for you, whether or not, are you actually going to go out there and make this happen still, or is it just like something that you're going to use it as an excuse, right? To, basically throw your hands up and, not do anything, right? So I think it's really a test of also who's a problem solver. So the way Alex just spoke, like, that's a problem solver to me, versus like, if you have, because going into the first month, I already had business owner call in and say, oh, like, it was only 1 week of the announcement after quarantine. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. You don't have a plan for 1 week. Like, we've only been in quarantine for 1 week. If, for example, let's say my business shut down for this, and God forbid, but if it shut down for even like even 6 months, you have some plan, but you have to, there's no way that you, or at least even 2 months, 3 months, but 1 week, I thought to myself, you cannot already put your hands up as soon as someone says, there's quarantine coming in, right? So I think this is a good time to see, okay, how everyone, reacts to different, anything that comes at them, especially since it's, obviously, like Alex, not downplaying the COVID, because my mom's directly affected. She has a retail shop. My partner here, Sally, she obviously directly affected. But at the same time, I see, people who deal with the situation differently, and there's people who just throw their hands up and completely, because it's so normalized that this is accepted as a, that makes sense that your business went out, but I really think that, this is more of a test than, but I also hate the term new normal, like you said, Craig. So I'm on the same boat as you. When we use the new normal as an excuse, I hate it. But if you use the new normal as a moment to, kind of problem to solve, then, or problem to kind of navigate around or adapt to, then that's where I feel more comfortable. So why do you hate the word new normal, Craig? I'm curious.
Because it doesn't mean anything. I mean, what is the new normal? What tell me specifically, because if you turn on the news, it's all going to change tomorrow. It's going to change next week. We're going to get a vaccine in 3 months. What is the new normal? Like, we don't know. I don't want to get you. Pardon?
Oh, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Craig.
Right.
I just meant, people, if you look at, I'm going to just be super generalizing here, which, that's always terrible, but I'm going to do it anyways. If you look at, let's say the average population, people enjoy stability, right?
Yes.
They like creating routines in their life. They like saying, okay, I know if I do this, this will happen. Everything makes sense. There's nothing new or different sort of freaking me out. And so when people are they're reaching for a moment when stability will return, because right now it's so tumultuous. There's no stability. So when they say, okay, what's the new normal? What they're saying is, when will we reach a point of stability that I can build my life around? Because, we got to stage 3. So then they're like, okay, I can go to a restaurant, but I have to be 6 feet and the server will wear a mask. Like, this is where it's going to stay. I can get used to it and I'll be okay with that. And then we're like, haha, we're back to stage 2, psych. And now it's this other thing. And so everyone's just freaking out and they're like, when is it going to stop? And for people who are really looking for that stability, because there's a lot of things going on and that's something that they lean on and they appreciate having that it helps them navigate their world in the way that they make things happen in their life. Having none of that stability can be really challenging. And so I totally understand why a lot of people are looking for that moment when stability will return. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, the world is always on fire. And so this is just sort of another fire. But ironically, our stability is that nothing is stable. And so we're okay with that. But for people who have that stability and then that's taken away, that I can empathize with that struggle.
It's been interesting. And I think, I look at it with COVID and changing, that you need to be an expert in your industry, as always. And you need to continue to talk to your customers and find out what they want and need and how they're reacting to stuff and react to it. And, this is no different, in an abstract form than what we should be doing as entrepreneurs all the time. We should be worried that our clients are going to change their habits or decisions or go somewhere else and find out, why we're keeping them interested and engaging and how we do that. So, when these things change, you should be having an ear in the to the ground. And I say this because, I was following COVID in December, because the outbreak that happened in China, and I follow world news. And in January and February, I was talking to lots of people who run events. I run events, and I'm like, oh, SARS coming my way. Am I going to be shut down for 3 months? So as a person who runs events, I'm looking at anything that's going to stop me from running events, and COVID shut me down, right? It shut down my business. I run live events, live workshops. I help entrepreneur in person. And guess what? We don't do that anymore. So we had to pivot and switch. But everyone I talked to were like, it's not happening. It's no big deal. It's not going on. I talked to a local coffee shop here, I think in January, February, and the manager came back to me in June and said, I remember you, and I thought you were crazy when you came to me in January and said, when are you going to have to put up the chairs in here because this is coming, and for how long? And then, and they were locked down. You couldn't come in and buy coffee anymore. And so, well, I figured it was coming. We had SARS, it came, but we have to adapt. So, I talk about early on a plumber who went to a subscription model with his clients because people didn't want them early on in COVID in their homes, and now they probably have stuff for it. But they went through a monthly model, and his clients liked it. It's all about pivoting and adapting, and now is the time to find out, all right, if our clients don't want this, what about this, what about that? And as clients, they're more open to engage with you because it's trying times for everyone. So we have to stay on top of that. And so, yeah, I think you're right that it's always been an ever-changing thing as an entrepreneur, and maybe we're more comfortable because I'm like, well, aren't you talking to your customers? Aren't you finding out what they need and then figuring out how to give it to them? Like, isn't that everything I train everybody? So to me, it's kind of natural because it's stuff I teach. But I think when people get stuck in their lane, they're like, I do this. I don't, and if people aren't walking into my store so I can do this for them, I don't know what to do.
Right. It's the classic, so like a whole Kodak or Blockbuster thing. I make film, or like we're a DVD rental store. And it's like, no, you're giving people an escape, or you're helping capture memories. That's actually what you do. And so something else is going to come disrupt it. So people running a coffee shop, I sell coffee, but maybe what you're actually doing is you're giving them an escape, or you're, helping them get up in the morning or some other thing. And maybe there's a different way that you could pivot and still offer that same service that doesn't involve them coming in and getting their latte.
So we've got a question in the Q&A window for you, Alex, there. Just, I don't know if you saw that already.
No,
if you haven't, okay, read it. And we'll answer it at the end. But I wanted to thank everybody for coming. So just read it. I figured it's a more question for you. And Celia, if people want to find out more about you and your business, where would they go?
So they can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Celia Lopez Fit, or you could follow Placemade's Instagram, placemade.co, or you could visit our website, www.placemade.co.
Fantastic. And Naima, as usual, what do you got going on, and where can people find you?
I think for me, you can find me, on TorontoStarts. I think we're coming back next week on Wednesday. Is that right?
Yep, that's back on Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be on how to take your sales online. I think it's really important to, think proactively and, actually take the actions and put the sales cycle online, especially right now. So, I would say that workshop would be a great place for you to find me. And I have the socialsherpa.ca. I put it in the contacts for Digital Marketing Clinic. I couldn't find the event link, so I just put that in there. So hopefully you can see the link in the chats as well.
And Alex, where can people find you? And then after that, you can answer the question.
Great. Yeah, so you can find us at equivesto.com, EQUIVESTO.com, or on all social medias at Equivesto. We have 3 companies currently raising funds, so you can sign up to raise funds yourself, or you can invest in them. And I'll be on TorontoStarts next week talking about things you didn't know about equity crowdfunding.
On Tuesday. And
yes.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to continue to answer a couple of questions here, but I wanted to let anybody who didn't want to hang on for any longer, let them go. But we do have a question here about equity crowdfunding and monthly recurring revenue, Alex.
Yeah. For people who can't see the chat, I'll just summarize it very quickly. Essentially, what sort of monthly revenue do you need to have to successfully raise on an equity crowdfunding platform? And can crowdfunding platforms help plug the funding gap that exists for startups in Canada? A lot of government funding programs are directed at mature, profitable companies. That's a great question, and you're right on the money. So actually, you don't need any revenue to raise on Equivesto and even have a successful raise on a crowdfunding platform. What's most important is actually having a strong and defined community and a well-developed and formatted marketing plan to attract and grow that community and turn that community and those members into potential investors. That's really the most critical thing, as well as meeting the other requirements. But one of the requirements is not having any revenue. You can check out the other requirements depending on the amount you want to raise at equivesto.com. But yeah, so revenue is not important. It's actually about the preparation you do beforehand and really building and activating your community and turning them into investors.
And if you want to follow up, check out equivesto.com. And I put a link in the chat room there so you can book a one-on-one session with Alex if you want to discuss that further. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thank you, panelists. This was great. I really appreciate your time on a Wednesday night. Sorry, the fake Monday threw me off. Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Greg.
Bye, guys.